What is up, everybody? No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. Ed, what's up? Let me know when you get that pre-plan, man. Just wanted to pop in here real quick since it is the 7th year that I actually showed up at Prime in Salt Lake City. What's up? What's up, Jesse? 3526. What's up, Golden Boy Expert? What's up? Yep. So this is exactly 7 years ago today. Actually, I got out there on the 4th, but I didn't actually start my training in Salt Lake City until the 5th of March. And I didn't know anything about the Wyoming weather or anything like that. So basically, the last half of my drive on the way into Salt Lake City was basically a snowstorm driving in there. BRB 5th year, that's good to go. So there's been some ups, there's been some downs. Seen a lot of people come, see a lot of people go. The people that were there at the Salt Lake City terminal, whew. Seemed like if you were in the upper echelon at the Salt Lake City terminal, there's been a bit of turnover out there since I went out there. When I went out to Salt Lake City, there was no big terminal like that. It was like a little small, all that the terminal was when I got out there was basically that inbound building. That was it. So I'm assuming a lot of people are out there driving. I know that my man Ed is waiting for a pre-plan. It's going to be interesting what he gets out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. JJR, I'll talk to you on the phone about what happened with Troy. It just seems like everybody that was the face of Salt Lake City, man, as soon as they got out there and made their face of Salt Lake City, it was like a wrap. You know what I mean? Slime Pack, what's going on? I just wanted to come on here and commemorate my 7th, this exact 7th year that I showed up at Salt Lake City, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. But let's see. I think April 1st is when they're going to count my million miles. Doesn't necessarily matter because I'll have to wait another year to go to that dinner. And boy, I'm going to break their pockets down when it comes to that. I'm still pissed off about the money or about the food I left on the table when I completed my lease. You don't get no lease completion dinner if you're doing a lease purchase. So I don't know why that is, but it is what it is. Flatbed trucker out there putting in that real work. Definitely something that I could not do is no flatbed. Even back in the days, there's no way I'd want to be out there in the elements out there dealing with all that stuff. I just couldn't. You guys are some heroes out there doing that. I'm up here being gangster with my neck tattoo. Still haven't figured out when I'm going to leave the house. I have it narrowed down to between the 16th and the 20th. A lot of that's just going to depend on weather, things like that. If the weather's really good, I might go ahead and leave out a little bit early and come back a little bit earlier, or I might just stay till the 20th. Really haven't gone out and seen my truck since I parked it hard, so I'll probably end up having to jump that baby. I was going to take it to the shop and get an overhead done on it and some other stuff, but I'm going to wait and put it in the shop for that and a few other things when I come back to the house, which should be 3.5, 4 weeks, something like that, after I leave out somewhere in there. No hippie shit. That's what I'm talking about. So some of you guys weren't ever around when I gave the reasoning on how I came up with no hippie and that whole deal. Well, when I was in the Marines, there was this guy from Arkansas, basically what Marines would call a shitbird, but he was like really kind of dumb as far as if you were to scholastically, he was stupid, but he was very smart and streetwise and everything. But anyway, big old guy from Arkansas, and every time they used to, because Marines let you do some stupid shit. So he used to always say, either I know they're going to have us out here doing some hippie shit, or they better not have us out here doing none of that hippie shit. So I kind of remembered that. So when I started my cooking channel, that's what I named the cooking channel, No Hippie Barbecue and Cooking. And then when I started the trucking channel, I decided to carry it on over from there. So that's kind of how I came up with No Hippie. And it reminded me of that when old boy left the comment, no hippie shit. So some of you guys may not have known that. That's why it is that. And I have people all the time, well, your thing says no hippie, but you have a peace symbol on the side. And I was like, you know what? I love the hippies. It's just a saying, or it's just a phrase that I came up with back in the days. Them prices, boy. Now listen, this is the beauty of being home right now. Them fuel prices have gone up, 28 cents? So 28 plus 21. So they've gone up. Shit. Damn near 50 cents in the last 2 or 3 days. And by the time I come back out, maybe the fuel surcharge is going to go up, because it takes a little while for that fuel surcharge to catch up with the fuel prices. So maybe I'll be able to benefit from the fuel surcharges that have gone up without having to drive through them high-ass gas prices. That would be wonderful if that could happen. So maybe come up just a little bit more, then come back down. Fuel in Arizona is $4.48 a gallon. Yeah, I'm telling you. And I don't think I've ever seen the fuel prices go up more than 15 cents in one jump. So when they send out the messages saying tomorrow's fuel prices are going to go up or go down, I've never seen more than a 15-cent swing. So to see 28 and then a day later, or maybe it was 2 days later, either way, another 21-cent fuel hike, that's a lot of fucking money right there. And them fuel surcharges ain't going to come around right away. So it's going to be awesome if I can come out when the fuel surcharge comes back up. But I'm running on the full. Well, I have 3/4 of a tank of fuel. So running on the 3/4 tank of fuel that I already got in there that was somewhat cheap. And then any fuel that I get after that be less. So that'd be good. All right, Jesse, $5.29 for my Ford truck in Southern California per gallon. That's a lot of money. You running that 99 today? I just watched a video about the 99 freeway in California talking about how dangerous it is. How it's more dangerous than the 5 and the 101. So anyway, talking about these 7 years, one thing I'm going to credit myself or credit these 7 years of what I'm going to call success to is just listening to the right people and hanging around and talking to the right people. You know, you look at some of the stuff and you can tell who's going to be doing good and who's not just by looking at the Facebook posts and these prime Facebook groups. I could automatically tell who's doing all right and who's not just based on the negativity and all that stuff that they put out there. So tried to stay away from that as much as possible. As a matter of fact, I got out of a couple of them groups just because that stuff will rub off on you after a while. All right, Jesse's heading to Coachella. Those of you guys that pick up those loads at Colton, California, that have some of them produce loads, my man Jesse probably dropped those off for you guys to pick up there at that Walmart. So he's out there running kind of a local situation for Star Transportation, running under Prime's authority. He paid off his truck through Star, and now he's just out there ripping and running in Southern California. Well, not necessarily just Southern California. He's just out there running those routes. So and as I'm scrolling through here, I was kind of trying to go through my comments. And, you know, when you're on these live feeds and stuff, you can kind of scroll up. And I actually scroll up too much. And there's another trucking channel that's live right now that is one of those channels that is live right now that probably in 10 years is right at the same place they've been 10 years ago. My man Tim Travels in the house, man. I had on your shirt at my last live, but I didn't take my hoodie off. I should have done that. I think this live is getting a little bit boring, so let me go ahead and spice it up just a tad bit. We'll get there. I appreciate you in your last video, Terry, just telling everybody that all your information doesn't just come from No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. Buy 3 marketing. Who are you talking? All right, I know who you're talking about. Put it in the comment if you know who I'm talking about. That's gonna be interesting if we're talking about this. If we're talking about the same person, because that is what is painful. And I'm talking about. You know what? When I first got into trucking, you know, you try to figure out what's going on. You try to figure out like all these different ways to make money, or you know, whatever it is, just trucking stuff. And you know, and this isn't who I'm talking about that I scrolled through and accidentally scrolled up to his channel, but one of the most successful YouTube channels out there was a guy that I don't know what's going on right now, but it didn't take long for me to realize that was not the guy to be listening to. Myth Leather Company, what's up? So that's one thing I will say. If there's something I've learned in my 7 years since I rolled onto the Prime Terminal, started my training, was there's a lot of false prophets out here. and you listen to the wrong ones, and it can end up bad for you. I don't know if Ed is still on here or not, but we were talking about another channel, and he's a good guy, all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, man, if you keep banging your head up against the wall doing the same thing, I don't even care if it's the right thing. At some point, you just got to change something up. So, for example, if I was running 11 hours a day or running out my clock every day and all of a sudden the revenue wasn't there or something, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to start running 8 hours a day. Or if I'm like getting out to where I'm getting early, delivering with the full clock and the money's still not right, then I'm going to go out there and deliver with not a full clock. I mean, I'm going to change something. I'm not going to let, as soon as there's like I identify there's a problem, I am not going to keep doing the same thing every single time. Even if on paper it seems like it's the right thing. And I saw a lot of that people banging their heads up against the same wall consistently. And it's just like, at some point, I just feel like you got to make a change. Try something new, whatever. Those of you guys, I just joined a gang, had to get this tattoo on my neck. Hey, what is this tattoo anyway?
A monster truck. That's also dissolving.
It's a monster truck. I was going to put it under my eye, but I didn't want to go in the gym with the monster truck under my eye.
All right, I'll be right back.
Wait, where are you going?
I am going to deposit.
Oh, Mason's rent check?
No.
When's his rent due?
He pays the second Wednesday of the month.
When's that?
Next Wednesday.
Okay.
This is for the flexible spending reimbursement, and then he gave me $80 cash to deposit to order him something on Amazon. So before I order it,
Well, tell Mason if he's going to be paying anybody cash to do something like that, have him give you the cash and then me buy it on Amazon because I get 5%. You know what I mean?
do you want to do that? I don't care. I can give you the cash, but I know I can send you what he wants.
Okay, there you go.
But you got to order it then.
All right. Well, you could be here, right? Ordering it with me.
There you go.
Okay. Can you fill
I'm
up her
still
water
gonna go
bowl?
deposit this, and then I have some money still that I need to get rid of on Dunkin', so I'm getting some iced coffee.
Can you give Frank a little bit of water? All right. Yeah. That's one thing if there's one thing that I can say, and this isn't something that I thought about in trucking. It was like, you know what? When I was in the mortgage business, if I made, I mean, I don't know if she necessarily needs it. I just saw that it was a little low.
Go to bed. Go to bed. Because otherwise you're going to do something because Daddy's not.
Why don't you give her a little treat?
I'll give her one.
So in the mortgage business, if my numbers were down, you know, if I was making 50 calls a day, then I would make 100 calls a day. If 100 calls a day wouldn't do it, then I'd go down to 20. Like I was going to switch up something. I was going to start dealing more with insurance aid. Like whatever it was going to be, I was not going to continue down the same path. And that's what I keep seeing a lot of in trucking. Like, for example, the guy that me and Ed were talking about, he was having a lot of bad luck. His truck was breaking down all the time. His trailer was breaking down all the time. But he was like thinking that I'm smart because I'm taking all these long loads and, you know, they don't make as much per mile. First of all, I mean, I don't ever really look at that anyway. So that's just me. That's not saying it's right. That's just me. But why are you taking all these long ass loads if you don't have faith that your equipment's going to do it? So why wouldn't you just take shorter loads? I don't know. It just seems like he's been banging, you know, the nicest guy in the world, but he's been banging his head up against the wall forever, not making no progress and actually going backwards. One thing I promised I wasn't going to do when I got in this business was bring personal money into the business money. And there was a time when I had all them trucks on the road, and it was just going to be easy for me to just bring my personal finances to bear on that situation. I'd just be able to pay it all off and go that route. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to do that. But he's leveraged his house up against all this bad luck. It's just amazing. I just can't see it. Oh, I just hate seeing people go through it too, because I am empathetic and hate seeing people go through situations, but sometimes it's just like, why can't you see this shit? So anyway, that's kind of that. Buy 3 marketing. Come on, who are we talking about? I just want to see if you knew exactly who I was talking about. And then this kind of goes into this other segment of trucking, which I forgot what they used to call those truck drivers, drama channels, all that kind of stuff. I have rarely seen any of those guys do any good. But I was thinking about this. I've been thinking about what I'm going to do when it's time to kick this truck off the fleet. I'm not sure I could just give up that money again. I'm just not sure I could do it. Because I've been saving the exact amount that a truck payment lease would take. So some people say, well, the only reason you're successful is your truck is paid off. Well, first of all, I had to pay off the truck. That's the first thing. And I was never complaining about the money that whole time, right? So I had to pay off the truck. Then now I'm putting aside I'm putting aside $1,500 a week that I don't even see, and I'm still doing all right. So, okay, starts with P. Yeah, that's probably who we're talking about right there. So hypothetically, let's say that in 3 years from when I started saving $1,500 a week, I have $150,000 saved up, and I'm like, okay, I'm just not sure that I'd be willing to. I'm just not sure I'm gonna be ready to. I mean, I might put the money in the bank and then just do the $8,000 down, but I might just get a used one, or I don't know. I'm not. I don't know. These are decisions that that's going through my head right now. Yeah. So when I came when I came to home time, my fleet manager, for some reason, set my PTA to the 28th of February. He knew, first of all, he knows I don't ever take that little time off. So I don't know why he did that. He'd have been better off just making it December 31st or something like that, and then adjusting it as necessary. But I see that he has me set coming out 28th. So on the 27th, which was a Saturday, I knew my fleet manager wasn't there. I sent him a macro ready to reload on the 20th of March. Then I sent a message, ready to reload March 20th, 0800, whatever. Then right after that, I get a message from this. I don't even know who the fleet manager was. When do you plan on being available? I said, I sent the message. I'll be available on the 20th. I didn't say March 20th. So now we're like the 26th or 27th. I think it was the 27th. He's like, well, it's the 20th right now. I was like, I know. I'm talking about the 20th of next month. And then it's like, well, if you have the money to cover the fixed cost or whatever, I was like, you might want to check the account. Rusty man, he's out there whistling through the graveyard. I bet you won't be going over I-70 tonight. I don't know where you're at right now. I haven't looked you up, but I know you're not going to want to go over I-70 tonight. As a matter of fact, if you did, I'd bet you $100 you'd be chaining up tonight. All right, I really think our job will be affected within 3 years with automation. What are your thoughts? I don't think within 3 years it'll affect us. I think it might affect some aspects of the trucking, but I don't think it's going to affect us. But I don't know. In 3 years, it might be time for me to shut it down anyway, man. I'm not really. I've been really contemplating how long I really want to do this shit, to be honest with you. I'm not to the point where I was in the mortgage industry where I was like 100% stressed out all the time or anything like that. But I'm not. It's harder for me because I know there's some of you guys that are like out there that are like, I live for this shit or I like driving. And, the first thing you think about is the love of driving the trucks and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just not like that. So when I don't hate it, but I just don't like it. And I'm a Gen X guy, so we never had to like our jobs. All we had to do was do them, right? So that's kind of where I'm at. But I'm trying to look into the future, and I'm just like, man, can I do this shit for another 3 years? I don't know. Shamarcus has his PTA set for 12/31/26. Yeah, that's what I should have. And I told him I wasn't going to be out. Like, I wasn't going to come out of the house until, it's going to be a while. Because, so I don't know why he added it to 28. But, what's up, Hippie, with Prime? All right, Afro, what's up, Hippie? What's up with Prime? All right, I think you're talking about what's up with Prime charging company drivers at $1K at $20 a week. I don't necessarily agree with that, but then again, listen, sometimes you get what management gives you. So, for example, and I'm going to do this video because somebody had asked, how did I get into trucking? But if I was in the mortgage business and somebody hires me and I'm like known for networking and all that kind of stuff, you know what? That's what my company is going to be based on. If I hire somebody and they're all about cold calling and doing all that, then that's what my company is going to be based on. So Prime basically made an accountant their president. So everything's going to be based on those principles. So it's coming down to money, or that's the way it's kind of going. So I don't necessarily. It's not what it is what it's saying. So there was a little skit that Chris Rock came out with back in the days, one of his earliest stand-ups ever, before he was actually even on TV. It was like it was like a CD or cassette or whatever that you could get back in the days. And he was saying, you know what, if a job hires you at minimum wage, you know what they're saying? If I could have paid you less, I would. And it's sort of like some of the moves that have been happening have been kind of like, if I could have charged you anywhere else, I would. So it's like, I don't care if I'm not even going to keep going. I'm just going to leave it at that. So I think that could come back to bite. As my man Malcolm X used to say, the chickens could come home to a point. I mean, again, not saying that I gave Terry the the message or whatever talking about that company driver stuff, because I'm not a company driver. I don't have access to those messages. But in his video, he was stating that it could be the desire to get rid of company drivers. And I think company drivers served an excellent purpose at Prime. So I don't know what the reasoning would be for that, but I don't know. I think that can come back. I mean, Rusty, man, he's one of them successful lease drivers that I refer to all the time at Prime. He was a company driver, and he's told me he's kicked himself in the ass for being a company driver as long as he was. How would you feel about getting charged $20 a week for $1,000? Basically an escrow account. Schmarket says American Greed. Prime is a leasing company. They hate company drivers. When I first started Prime, it seemed like the mix was like 65, 35 or something like that. Yeah, Slime Pack asking when Shamarcus' next video is coming up. What Shamarcus, I understand not everybody could jump into the bourbon game or anything like that, because vodka, you could turn that stuff a lot faster. You don't necessarily need to age that stuff or anything like that. But once you scale it up, man, get you some bourbon. I mean, shit, you can start pumping out some bourbon at age first of all, you could source it, so you don't even got to do that shit. Shit, I'll fucking throw up a bourbon video for you. No, I'm joking. All right. So anyway, ain't no one losing a job as a truck driver because of self-driving autonomous trucks. Even in the next 10 years, there's a million driving jobs that can't replace drivers. So anyway, we're talking about this $20 a week, $1,000 escrow. Here's the thing that I'm worried about. And here's where things could get a little. So, for example, when I turned in my first lease, because my dumb ass wasn't looking long-term, like as long-term as I should have. So I got in that first lease and I was like, I really didn't even calculate. They didn't have any short-term leases at the time. That's what it was. There was a truck shortage when I was there. So I was kind of forced into that. Now that I think about it, never mind. So I got my first lease, drove it for like 6-7 months, turned it in. When my lease purchase came in, I don't remember what I got charged to turn that in, but it was immaculate when I turned it in. And I think I might have got charged what they like. It's almost like you could turn in a brand new truck and they're going to hit you for a cleaning fee. If they start doing that to like company drivers, that's going to create a problem right there. So I don't know. I don't think. I don't know. Because if they try to treat that like a lease person turning in their truck and try to swallow that money, or somebody quits or something like that and try to swallow that money, even if they win some of these cases, they might lose the gains just on somebody taking them to court. I mean, they've got taken to court for shit that was like petty shit and ended up having to pay on it. Something like this, I could almost at least see the reason for taking them to court. So I don't know. I disagree. But then again, I'm not the president of Prime. I mean, I think some of the changes that I'm seeing, as far as the upgrade process, I could almost see some of that making sense. Okay, you got to alley dock a truck in order to, upgrade. And then if you do, see, this is the trick. I don't, oh man. I'm not sure if this is what it is, but this is what somebody told me. If you go to upgrade, you can't back into this thing, then you got to go back out for 30,000 miles or 10,000, whatever. I think it's 10,000. That ain't 10,000 miles of driving ain't going to make your backing no better. You know what I mean? So, all right, Keith, let's read that comment because I probably got something to say about that one. Call it what it is. Holding drivers accountable for trashing their trucks. You've done no different if somebody had trashed your trucks. What I'm saying is, if somebody trashed your truck, that's a different story. But what I'm saying is, if somebody turned in a truck and the truck was in as good or better condition, and then they just hit it with just a $400 cleaning fee. Like, it's just like, well, all trucks, because that's what they were saying. Regardless of how clean the truck was, they all get hit with like this $400 cleaning fee or something like that. That's wrong. Now, if it's a lease driver, then I can see that, but I don't see that being the case. So yes, I would be pissed off if somebody did that. And I've had drivers turn in trucks in all different kind of conditions. So, what I think it is it's a dangerous slope, because what could happen is a company driver is not responsible for some of this shit. So forget the cleanliness and all that stuff. If a company driver curbs a wheel or does something like that, that should not be on that company driver. And if it starts going down that route, then I think that's the wrong way. I think that's the wrong direction. All right, they increased my escrows on my trucks too. Went from $1,500 to $1,750 a truck. That's Shamarcus. Agreed. Normal wear and tear. You're right. Company drivers shouldn't be held accountable for normal wear. Yeah, and I almost wouldn't even. $1,000 is a bit high. If you're going after normal wear, I don't think there's a ton of company drivers that are doing more than $1,000 worth of like cleaning and all that stuff. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I have seen some fucked up trucks at Prime, but I don't think there's $1,000 worth of issues to the truck. And again, the reason that a driver might take a company driver position is to lessen their liability for some of this other stuff. So that could mean backing into somebody at a truck stop, or that could mean you getting in a position where you got to get towed, or you just doing any random number of things that could cost the company money. That's the reason why the whole thing was go company for the first 6 months and learn this or that, and then come lease. Let's see. Hold on. 3218, was your lease purchase a new truck? Yes, they were all new trucks. Representing the Wu-Tang up here too. Yeah, they were new trucks, and I think of all my trucks, this one here is the pick of the litter. The 2022 that I got right now just turned over 400,000 miles. I'm afraid to do a little extra work on that thing just because it's been so bulletproof the last 300,000 miles. Which is why I put off this overhead as long as I have, because the fuel economy's been banging on it. Truck is so smooth, man. Sometimes you're driving it, and if you're like on a straight road, sometimes it's like so quiet. It's like the absence of like noise. It's like you're in a vacuum. And I've been afraid to do that, you know. But next time I come back home, we're gonna do the overhead. Guys, listen, seriously, air dryer cartridges, get those things changed out like at least twice the pace that if you're owning a truck. I don't know about lease. If you're just leasing a truck, do whatever they say. 75,000 mile oil changes, whatever. I ain't gonna run my truck 75,000 miles. Just not gonna happen. But I will try to do my oil changes 35, 40,000 miles and get my air dryer cartridge done at that interval as well. And then every other time do like a chassis lube and all that kind of stuff, because at some point it's a round off error. If you're spending an extra $1,000 a year, potentially doing a little bit extra, maybe let's call it 1,500, doing extra shit, that's a round off error. That money's gonna come back to you down the road. Either A, somebody's gonna pay more for your truck because they've seen the service records, all that kind of stuff, or you're just the air dryer cartridge. That's the one I'm gonna stand by absolutely, because once your truck starts like getting a little bit too much moisture in the system, it starts acting crazy. But yeah, so I was telling people about this not new, but this YouTube channel, this guy named Scotty Bear, and I'm so pissed off looking at his videos. The guy has fucking nothing, living in his car, e-bagging like a motherfucker. He's actually got subscribers sending him fucking money. Tried to get into trucking, and anyway, you'd have to see this shit. This guy's a fucking idiot. And I look back, since this is the 7th year since I came into trucking, and I said to myself when I got into trucking, I'm going to have to act like there is no other option than for me to finish this course, because it would be easy for me. Like, this guy had really no options other than begging on YouTube and all this kind of stuff. Me, it was like, I have to act like there's no other options, because it'd be too easy for me to just say, you know what, fuck it. I'm not going through this shit. This is like it'd just be easy for me to quit. And this guy that's going, I don't know what he's doing now, but he basically had nothing, and he was acting like he had all these options. So anyway, that was the deal. I still believe Salt Lake City, at least the program that they had back then, is way better than anything that they had. Way better than normal drivers taking trainees out over the road. Better than the system they had in Springfield. It was like a. Why is this escaping me? It was just 4 trainers teaching 40 or 50 or 60, however many students were going through there. It was like an assembly line. That's what I'm looking for. And your whole day, wind, rain, sleet, shine, snow, whatever, it was 8 hours on that pad doing pre-tribs, doing backing, all 8 hours. That's what that is for, was getting your CDL. I don't think there was any place better than actually there to get your fucking CDL. I'll stand by that one. It was like military almost, to be honest with you. And damn, now I forgot my fucking point. Forgot my point. It happens sometime. But anyway, I went there March 5th. Got my CDL April 1st, so that's coming. That's another thing that's coming up. And then when I got my CDL, I failed the first time. So there's always people that are like acting like if they failed their CDL the first time, they're like, it's like some big deal. No, I failed the first time. And really what I did, because I knew my training was adequate, and I actually failed for shit that I probably do every fucking, at least once a day out here anyway. Maybe once every 3 or 4 days. And I failed, and I knew that my trainers weren't going to get the money that they were normally going to get for somebody trifecting. So I went and got 3 $50 gift cards and gave them all to the trainers up there. All right, Shamarcus, I have a Peterbilt, so I'm at Peterbilt dealerships, man. So I got a Peterbilt dealership right by my house. So I just take it to the Peterbilt dealership, drop it off. And for those of you guys that listen, that don't have yards or any place to keep your truck, the best thing about dropping your truck off at a dealership, like if I didn't have a drop yard in Denver, I could literally go there, put my truck in the shop, tell them what to do, keep it there for 2 weeks, and it's like free storage and getting the work done on your truck. So that's what I do. I don't do anything at the terminal, and I don't do anything at Springfield Peterbilt after dealing with them a few times. So yeah, that's one of the downfall. Well, I wouldn't even say it's a downfall. It's one of those things where you really can't get a lot of work done on your truck if you have a Peterbilt at the terminal. But then again, I got people that deal with Peterbilts messing with my truck all the time. So all right, Keith, you forced me to check out Todd. Jesus, you weren't. Oh, you talking about Todd, Trucker Todd? Oh my God, that right there. Like I said, my issue with him, I would have let that slide. But when he tried to talk to me like I was an idiot back in the day, that I really have never said anything to him, commented on his video, said anything about him until recently. And it's just the stupidity that's been coming out recently. I just had to say something about it. Because had he not like acted, I think the comment on the video that he like made me seem like I didn't know what I was talking about and I was some rookie driver, was basically saying, you have the lease program wrong at Prime. Here's what it is. Trucks come in with the lease end date. This is exactly what the thing was. Regular leases come in with the lease end date on it right off the bat. They're not just saying this person's done with their lease and now we're going to lease it for another 3 years. So that was one of my points. And then the next one was there is no balloon payment on a lease. And then I forgot. And then that's kind of when he came by saying that I was like drinking the Kool-Aid, or I forgot what it was. This is going back a few years. But again, I haven't finalized my bet yet with 412, but I'm sitting here with $50 in my account, and I figure, is it worth me keeping that $50 that I really don't need or doubling it up? So I might double it up. Really haven't came up with the parameters on that bet yet, but he's already trying to hedge his bet on that shit. Well, the lease is only 3 months, so I'll at least be there that long. Come on, man. Like, how about look a little bit further than 3 months? That's the problem with the trucking industry. The biggest problem with the trucking industry is they pay week to week. What does that do? Shortens people's horizons. You know what I mean? So if I get paid week to week, all I'm doing is looking ahead to the next week. If you got paid once a month, it's going to stretch out your horizon or whatever it is. So I think that's what gives truck drivers in general a shorter term view on any of the goals that they have or anything like that. Keith might want in on that bet. See, I forget where me and old boy left off at. I was like putting the line at like 8 months, but I could shorten that a little bit. I think he was at 3. But either way, it doesn't matter if he. It doesn't matter. There's people actually out here listening to what he's saying. And that's the danger of this YouTube shit is you got people out here like actually listening to some of this bad advice. And there's a difference between somebody that's had problems leasing or whatever, and they're just like, you know what? Being a company driver might be the way to go or whatever, or here's the issues I had. But when he's like out here talking about how successful he is and how much he knows about the spot market and booking his own freight and all this kind of stuff, I'm like, if you're this, like, I'm just going to bring up a name right now. He's probably in Jamaica right now. I haven't talked to him in a while. Romaine the trucker probably has had more success in 2 years than he's had in 25 or 30 years, however long he's been doing it. And being a company driver, all he's doing is being consistent. A lot of this is just being consistent. A lot of it isn't if you know more than somebody else or this or that's, just being consistent. And he has not been consistent. Keith, his 10 reasons was laughable. Yep, I agree with that. And there's only one of those I saw that really even kind of made sense. And then, oh my God, see, sometimes we got to talk about ethics too, right? So he's like talking about he picked up this load. First of all, so he got this load and he had a wheel seal or something like that. But then he's like, okay, he picks up the load late and then he wants to go get some work done or I forgot if he picked it up late. I don't remember if he got the work done on the truck before or after or what it was. I think he got the work done on the truck first, picked up the load late, and now he's telling them, well, I think we need to just get this repowered. He's trying to drive all the miles off the load. Luckily, see, this is what I got a problem with. Luckily, the dispatcher said, you know what? Repower that shit in Dallas, Fort Worth, or whatever it was, instead of he would have drove that shit within 50 miles or 100 miles or whatever it was from the destination, then repowered it, fucking the next driver. What happened was he repowered it with the driver that was sitting on a load anyway. He ended up getting fucked on the load, and the other driver got all the miles on it. Come on, man. Like, one thing you will know about me is I will never drop some bullshit on you. That's not going to happen. You're never going to come to the Denver yard and pick up a load, and it's going to be a load I dropped there because I was home 2 days early. Or you're not going to see a load where if I can't make the load, I'm going to know it earlier on. I'm not going to drive all the miles off the load and give it to somebody to run 50 fucking miles on it. Ethically, I can't do that shit because I hate it when it happens to me. And he acted like that was another fucking day. So anyway, but anyway, again, part of the problem was him telling him, like, my job isn't to tell Prime what to do with it. The thing is, I'm not going to make this load because I had to get this done. Please advise. That's it. Not, I'm going to drive it here and do no. You tell me what to do. All right, little dude from 63rd, a regular lease just doesn't sit right with me. Prime Inc. doesn't even own them trucks. I agree. Like, I would not do a regular lease at Prime. I just wouldn't do it. Not that there's the problem with the regular leases at Prime is either you have 8,000 or you have 8,000 or 14,000, you go right into the lease purchase. So that's the cost of the barrier to entry into that. If you finish a 3-year lease on a regular lease purchase, let's say that you were a baller and you got $20,000 at the end of the lease and you didn't have to put down $14,000. Let's say 10,000, make the numbers round. 14 or 20, 30,000. So you didn't put down 10,000, you got the 20,000. So let's say you're $30,000 up. Well, you're just it's like it's either never getting off the treadmill or never being able to sell the truck for a little bit of a profit. That's why I don't do it. So, but I ran into somebody, I could still remember where we were at. I was at the Aurora, Nebraska Loves, and there was a guy that was in economics or had an economics degree or something like that. And he broke down to me why the regular lease worked. And if it works for him, then it's great. Everybody needs to figure out a way, figure out what works for them. But 25 years of failure ain't working for anybody. So you could do whatever you want to do with that. All right. There's a comment that all right, Keith, 8149. You forced me to check out Todd. Jesus, you weren't bad. Go check out Scotty Bear and look at his last video since he was talking about getting in the truck. And you want to know something or you want to watch something that's going to piss you off, watch that guy. At this point, Trucker Todd should go to Super Ego. Listen, Trucker Todd is in the perfect position because he actually considers himself a YouTuber. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he considers himself. What he should do is just say, you know what? Instead of this being a channel where I'm trying to educate people, because obviously he's not in a position to educate anybody, just say, you know what? This is just documenting my life. I've gone through some ups and downs, and at this point, let's just kind of see what works out for me and just go that route. And at least you'll have people rooting for you. The worst thing you want is people against you. You don't want everybody in life to be against you. And when you do this shit where you're acting like you're better than if you were actually better than everybody, then that would be a difference. Like if you were like, you know what? I'm like, because he comes off like he's like a hitter. You know what I mean? And then that's what causes this little bit of a backlash. But if he was just like, you know what? Watch me dig out of this hole. I don't have shit. Like, let's be honest. I don't have shit. You know what? Watch me dig out of this hole with perseverance and, whatever. We're going to dig out of this hole and I'm going to show you what trucking can do for you. Not how good I am at trucking, but what you could do if you just grind. And that could be the channel. That would be what in him and Trucker Coach, same fucking thing. And I would say the other person I was referring to before, I'm not even going to refer to that. Never mind. I'm not even going to go there. But anyway, that I think would be a good channel to do. Or I think, fuck the channel. I think that would be what would make people not take you serious, but like be behind you and rooting for you. All right, shoot. Keith, 8149. It's worked for me the last 10 years. Matter of fact, saw you in Springfield when I was picking up my truck at the end of July. Shoot, yep, I remember being in July around that time. So the odd thing about it, Keith, is you could do a channel and show more success than some of these guys out here for 25 years. Because listen, there's a ton of reasons not to go with Prime. Everybody's going to document that and whatever. I'm going to tell you the one thing that nobody really thinks about, unless you're a Prime. And actually, I think at Prime, we take it for granted. You know, some people are saying, oh, these guys at Prime are running for no money. You know, I mean, I think that the market has kind of said that that's kind of contrary to what they were saying before. But, you know, with the market changing, we're probably going to start making less money than what the spot market does and all that kind of stuff. But here's the difference. How much money do you think some of these brokers are swallowing on detention pay? Meaning somebody in the spot market, and don't tell me this doesn't happen. Somebody in the spot markets dropped off a load. They go to their broker and they say, hey, I've been at this dock for 5 hours. You know, I want to get detention. And they're like, we'll see if we can get it. I guarantee you some of the times that detentions got paid and just not got paid to the driver. One thing I can guarantee you, Prime is going to go after that detention. That is one thing. Like, you see people stressed out. Oh, I was at a dock for 8 hours. I'm like chilling. I'm at a dock for 8 hours making free money for the most part. There's some very few people that don't pay attention. I'm not in no rush. None of that shit. That right there alone, the detention that you collect working at Prime is like incredible. I talked to one of my boys up here and he's like, man, you made more detention on that load than I made all year and I've been held up. So that's a good reason to come to Prime that nobody really talks about there. I mean, one thing that your boy did talk about was the fuel discounts at Prime, and those fuel discounts are banging. I think the only one I've seen that was kind of close might have been Landstar. But now that we're pulling in all these other carriers, you know, Landstar had more trucks than we did. If you start pulling in Western Flyer Express and wait, what was I saying? Trans Am? Landstar may have been about where we were or better, but now that we've got Landstar and Western Flyer running under us and reefers on top of that, you know, I think that's one thing that internally drivers at Prime don't understand is our fuel discounts may end up being better just based on that as well. So he did, at least did bring that up as one of the reasons to why he thought it was good to go to Trans Am. All right. Your fleet manager can make or break your experience with Prime. I've had 4 of my current tanker fleet manager keeps me rolling compared to the other one who quit. I could not be happier with my fleet manager other than the fact that he does not. Boy, if I was playing, what's that TV show back in the day where you could call and get a lifeline or some shit like that, I would not play that game with him because he is not going to answer that goddamn phone. But he's not going to put you through no bullshit. If you turn down a load, he might come back with some, you know, okay, I'll turn down this $4.50 mile load going to, you know, appreciate it, whatever. But totally laid back. I could not be happier than I am with my fleet manager. Now, sometimes, that being said, because sometimes I do shit with my fleet manager I don't want to do just because, you know, it's a give and take. So sometimes on the weekends, I get a little happy because it's like the substitute teachers are in. And if they send me anything I don't like, I'm like ready to shut it down. But yeah, this year is 38 years for me. God damn. 38 years of trucking and I don't do YouTube at all. Tim's pissed at me for the Prime $1,000 video and wants to do it live with me. What didn't you like about the $1,000 video that Terry did? I'm curious about that. How long have you been are you at Prime? Or, you know, how long? Yeah, how long have you been at that? Those are my questions for Keith. How long have you been at Prime? And I don't do YouTube. And really, YouTube for me is just kind of, if it was about the money and all that for me, even though I'm not going to get crazy like Slime Pack and all these other people, YouTube has probably been one of the most beneficial things to me in trucking. First of all, it's getting to know people like you, Keith. Been trucking for 38 years. I could run into you at a terminal. We could sit down, shoot the shit about whatever, and just information I get from you at a terminal could add to shit that I didn't know before. Or it could be like a number of different people where we get exchanged numbers and now we're, talking to each other all the time, or, sending shit back and forth. Have you ever been at this ship or that ship, or what's the weather like where you're at, whatever. That's what I get out of YouTube. This little bit of money that I make every month, little bit of money, trust me, that I make every month on this channel isn't even worth firing. It's getting to know people that makes it worth it. So, and then I guess the second part of that would be what about that $1,000 video? I guess would be my next question. But I mean, I've learned so fucking much from YouTube, and I'm not saying from just the people I've met. And I could think of like very specific times where, my man, Million Mile Man, is not on here anymore as much as he used to be. Well, at all. I haven't seen him in a while, but him and his brother, we used to talk on the phone all the time. I would never have met them if it wasn't for YouTube. I go pick up a load, trailers all fucked up in New Jersey. First of all, I shouldn't have been in New Jersey, but whatever. Go pick up a trailer in New Jersey. The shit's not working. I jump it. It starts running. Then it turns off. I was too new into trucking and didn't know enough about car shit or mechanical shit that if it's starting and it's running, it's an alternator that's the problem. So if I just put it on continuous, I should be all right. Boom. Turn it on continuous, doesn't turn off, call dispatch, tell them what the deal is. I'm running it continuous and I'm out. I wouldn't have known that had I not been on YouTube. I mean, I could think of times where I've like was thinking about taking a certain route, and somebody I know they're in a certain area, and they send me a message, hey, don't take this route. It's fucked up here, whatever. And like here we go. My man Ed, that's up there in Grand Rapids, he just picks up a load in Grand Rapids going to picking up, what is it? He's picking up on the 6th. He didn't want to pick up a load till tomorrow, so he got lucky there because he wanted a little bit of a break. So he's picking up a drop and hook going 256 miles to Tip City. Those of you guys at Prime are familiar with that Meyer load in Tip City, Ohio. So we kind of learned through that. I don't know. All right, so you guys are disagreeing about the $1,000. And to be honest with you, so I talked about that. You get to meet all these people that you learn different stuff from. Some people that have only been driving for 6 months got shit to teach you. But, there's Terry at Tim Travels. There's other people that they can stimulate my mind vocabularily. I just made that word up probably. That I wouldn't get from just talking to random truck drivers. And it honestly, and I'm not saying there's any slight or anything like that. My vocabulary, like I find myself looking for words that I used to use on a daily basis before I got into trucking. So I thank people that can kind of stimulate my mind from that area as well. Anyway, I just wanted to run in here real quick, say happy 7th year priming from the day that I started training in Salt Lake City. Utah's probably made more money by far than I thought I'd ever make. So it's definitely been a win as far as that. Maybe not so much of a win as far as being at the Hacienda Con Grande and all that, but I'm sure it'll all pay off in the future. Anyway, I appreciate you guys stopping by No Hippie Trucking Transportation. I am out.